Senator Mundigi.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa ruhusa nichangie mjadala wa mambo ya gavana, vile hatua itakuwa inasukuliwa wakiwa wamealikwa wakuja wajibu maswali. Kitu ya kwanza nataka niseme miaka iliyopita ya ukatusi miaka 10, pesa nyingi kaunti nyingi zimepatiwa pesa na kaunti nyingi pesa zimepotea na magavana na wafanyikazi. Na pia ukikuta tukisema wakati tunapatia pesa kidogo, huwa saa hiyo tunakuanga senator na magavana, Bwana Spika huwa analamika tunakuwa ni maadui, lakini tukiwaongezea pesa inakuwa pia ni maadui, kwa sababu wakati tunaenda masinani tukitaka kuangalia ile kazi wamefanya, Bwana Spika huwa wanakuwa uso yao wanakuwa watakuona sisi, sio kwa mikutano, sio wapi, inakuwa ni shinda. Na wakati tunawahitaji wakuje wajibu maswali kati vile pesa wametumia, inakuwa ni shinda, wanajipa ruhusa ya kusema wako na kazi nyingi, wako mambo mingi. Naomba Bwana Spika tuchukue hatua, tuone ni nini naweza kuangaliwa na ni pesa ngapi, kama watakuwa na hudhuria kikao, tuone pesa ngapi, kama hiyo inasemekana ni milioni 2 ambayo wanaweza kupigwa fine ndio waweze kusema kuwa watakuwa wakihudhuria. Nataka kusema for example kama Embu, kama wakati huu gavana aliyeko anajaribu kufanya kazi, lakini miaka 10 ya ukatusi pesa ilitumika na njia ile haifai. Kulikuwa ni mambo ya kupigana, kusoseana na mambo mingi. Sasa unakuta wakati gavana ameingia, amekuta kuna pesa nyingi imetumika na njia haifai. Unakuta mabenki haikuwa inalipwa, unakuta hospitali ilikuwa imesoroteka, unakuta kulikuwa na shinda. Kwa hiyo naunga mkono vitu kama hiyo isukuliwe. Na pia kuna kitu tunafaa tuangalie, kama gavana amesimama na ameshindwa, itakuwa inasukuliwa hatua gani? Kwa sababu kama sasa kaunti nyingi pesa ilitumika na ile magavana, lakini hakuna hatua imesukuliwa. Kwa hivyo nataka kuomba pia hapo iangaliwe, tuone itakuwa namna gani. After ameshindwa, tuone itakuwa inasukuliwa hatua namna gani. Kwa hivyo naunga mkono, tuone vile itaendelea, ndio tuone vile watapelekwa kotini, ama tukiwahitaji kuwe na askari. Tukisema ni askari ambaye ni wa serikali itakuwa na shinda. Kushaona kama wale tunafanya kazi nao hapa wanafanya kazi nzuri, na tumeona pia mtu akileta shinda hapa, kama siku nyingine najua niona rafiki yangu Senator Silegei alishukua hapa njuu. Kwa hiyo ningeomba hao askari ndio tunakuwa tunatumia waweze kuendelea kulete magavana katika Senate. Asante na naunga mkono Bwana Spika.
There being no other senator interested in contributing, I'll call upon the mover, Senator Osotsi, to reply.
Mr. Speaker, let me start by thanking all the members who have contributed to this debate, particularly the leadership of this House, the Senate Majority Leader, Minority Leader, Minority Whip, Majority Whip, and the others. Mr. Speaker, listening to the contribution by the members in this House, I have come to notice that probably this House needs to have a total review of the Powers and Privileges Act, because members have raised a number of issues. But Mr. Speaker, you know my bill was only dealing with the 2 issues. One is the issue of enhancement of fines upon summon, and number 2, the issue of the power of arrest. But members have raised a number of issues which maybe we need to consider in a proper bill that will look at those issues. I have heard members talk about contempt of parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this House needs to have a look at this matter. If you go to other jurisdictions, for example, Zambia, which is an African country like us, they have, in their Powers and Privilege Act, they have defined the process of handling contempt of parliament. And Mr. Speaker, there are issues to do with list of shame. This can also come there. Issues to do with the clearance for elections. I think, Mr. Speaker, this is an important issue because this House has adopted reports. Some of these reports have even recommended that some individuals are unfit to lead. But what has been done about that, Mr. Speaker? These people continue to contest elections and still come back to the same House that resolved that they are unfit to lead. Mr. Speaker, the other issue which we must be alive to when we talk about our powers and privilege is how we can protect our oversight role. Mr. Speaker, I have seen in some counties where whenever senators want to do their oversight role, and they are doing it, governors even send people to demonstrate against the senators. Some even send MCS to go and do press conferences condemning senators. Mr. Speaker, we must find a way of protecting our oversight role, especially in the counties. Mr. Speaker, you know very well that this bill is not just dealing with the issues of governance, but we are dealing with all witnesses that appear in the House, be it witnesses from the national government, from county government, even personal individuals who appear before Parliament. They will be expected to adhere to the provisions of this bill. Mr. Speaker, if you allow me to quickly go through some of the comments members have talked about, there was the issue of increasing the fines. Honorable members will be consulting with the relevant committee, in this case, the JLAC, on the proposals that you have given so that we can consider amending the bill to reflect the positions that you have given. Mr. Speaker, there is also the issue of urgency, appearance on urgency. That has been covered in this bill so that you don't have to wait for 7 days, as we have always been doing. You can be asked to appear before the committee within a shorter period of time. And this will enhance the operations of our committee. Mr. Speaker, there was also the issue of who bears the burden of the fine. I think this is a very important point because we should not fine these people and they end up drawing money from public coffers. So this is one area that, again, I'll be consulting with the committee to amend it so that it's very clear that these funds will be from personal sources. There was also the issue of how do you recover the fines. Mr. Speaker, this bill makes reference to Debt Summary Recovery Act, which has specific guidelines on how that recovery is done and how complaints are filed. So the clerk of the two houses will be able to file complaints to trigger this process. Mr. Speaker, there was also the issue of the powers to arrest. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the amendments that are proposed under clause 4(6), that says, where an order of arrest is to be effected by the officer of a House of Parliament, the Inspector General shall facilitate the arrest as may be requested by the clerk. So we are not taking away the powers of the police, but we are bringing in a provision that the Inspector General shall facilitate that officer of parliament to ensure that the arrest is done. So this particular clause ensures that this bill or this particular amendment is in line with the Article 245 of the Constitution that gives independence to the office of the Inspector General of the Police. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, if you go to Article 245 2B, it talks about independence of the IG, but then it also says the IG will perform any other functions prescribed by the national legislation. So by us saying that the Inspector General of Police shall facilitate, that is in line with Article 245, and there is nothing unconstitutional about that. Mr. Speaker, there was also the issue of where to hold the witnesses. If you look at the amendments, Mr. Speaker, under clause 4.7, says a person arrested under subsection 3 shall be held at such a place as specified in the National Police Service Act, or as shall be designated by the clerk for the purposes of holding such persons. B, be produced before court or house or committee that summoned that person on the next day. This covers that, and that deals with the issue of constitutionality, that this individual will be held at a gazetted place where such witnesses are held, or a place designated by the clerk. For the purpose of this house, we have a police station in the presence of Parliament, and that's where such a person can be held. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to belabor the points because members have exhaustively discussed this bill, and I want to encourage members who have amendments to approach the clerk and make the amendments, and I will also be making amendments to reflect the views expressed by members. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the members, and I know this bill is going to be passed by this House. I want to ask the members of the National Assembly to also do the same, because they go through the same challenges we are going through. Just this week, Mr. Speaker, it was reported that a top officer of a revenue collection agency in this country was summoned by the National Assembly for failing to appear before National Assembly for a record 14 times. And there are many, many other cases like that. So I think this is the time that Parliament need to exercise their powers, and I want to encourage that we have an overhaul of the Powers and Privilege Act, the Parent Act, so that we can deal with the issue of contempt of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I also want to request that pursuant to Standing Order